Godzilla, the king of the monsters, versus Cthulhu, a literal god. After quite some time of gathering scans, talking to a bunch of different people, and watching videos, I decided to make Godzilla vs. Cthulhu. Now, why did I decide to make this? Honestly, I thought I would just make this video because I could. But I also wanted to make it because Godzilla and Cthulhu are heavily debated against each other. And if you were to search Godzilla vs. Cthulhu on YouTube, there's really only one video by Literary Who, and in that video, he doesn't really give Godzilla his correct scaling, or really even go over Godzilla's scaling at all. Other than that, there's a bunch of YouTube shorts that puts them against each other, but they're YouTube shorts. I don't think anyone wants to watch them, or will even get scaling from it. So I decided that I would go over both sides to determine who would win between these two colossal beasts. But let me first explain how this series is going to play out. In this first video, we will go over Cthulhu scaling. Then in the second part, I will be going over Godzilla scaling and then determine who would win between the two. I will also be including hacks for both sides in this fight because I could possibly give the other character an edge over the other. But without further ado, let's jump into Cthulhu scaling. Now, I think the big question before I scale Cthulhu is which version or versions of Cthulhu will I be using to scale him? For this particular video, I will be using the Dungeons & Dragons and Lovecraft's version of Cthulhu for his scale. I would also like to credit Literary Who and Webcam Parrot for their videos on Lovecraft because this is where I'll be getting the scaling for Lovecraft. I would also like to thank Ronin Gaming, a friend on Discord who helped me out with Cthulhu scaling. But let's start scaling Cthulhu. And I think we should probably go over Lovecraft's Cthulhu first and then his Dungeons & Dragons counterpart. Now, before we go over Cthulhu himself, I think it's important that we go over the cosmology of Lovecraft to see where it scales, and then see how Cthulhu scales to it all. Now, for starters, it is stated that the individual universes are all infinite in size and function under different sets of laws. An unknown voice speaks to a guy named Wilmarth and states to him that there are various universes. Now, this should apply to the physical universe, but the next thing that is beyond the physical universe is called the Dreamlands. Now, the Dreamlands are stated that they are beyond time, infinite in size, and contain an infinite amount of archetypal dimensions. The narrator and title character consume exotic drugs to project their astral forms into the Dreamlands, which is a universe of dreams described as lying deeper than matter, time, and space. One night, winds from unknown places blow them through limitless vaca beyond all thought and entity that unfold new perceptions of infinity upon them as they tear through obstacles to increasingly remote regions. And when the narrator leaves the Dreamlands and re-perceives the material world, aka the physical universe, his sense of infinity reverts back to a local scale, corroborating these limitless vaca he and Hypnos ascended through as a higher level of infinity. Now, along with this, a letter by Akali implies that there existence of juxtaposed dimensions and how an infinite amount of linked universes are just one small piece of a super cosmology that holds the space-times as atoms within itself. Another guy named Walter Gilman studied non-Euclidean calculus, quantum physics, and folklore/elder magic, so any statements that he makes about the cosmology of Lovecraft should be taken as valid. Now, Walter discusses this series about there being other spacetimes, and he describes that there are indefinitely multiplied dimensions within and outside our given spacetimes. Now, the last guy we're going to cover is a guy named Carter. Carter performs a ritual with the Silver Key, which sends him back in time. While he was in the past, he sensed that his position in spacetime was distorting, and after the ritual, the truth was that he detached himself from spacetime entirely, and that he crossed the first gate into Earth's outer extension, which is classified as a realm outside of time. Now, Carter's narration senses that the outer extension of Earth is undimensional, meaning that it doesn't hold the concept of dimensions, or is beyond it, is outside of time, and the dimensions known to the people of Earth. Now, Carter realizes that he exists in many places at the same time, and when he reaches the ultimate void, his narration calls the outer extension transdimensional. Now, Carter reflects on the Silver Key, opening the first gate to let him cross into the outer extension as making him something outside of time. Now we are then introduced to Yog-Sothoth, who tells Carter that the planet on which humanity lives on is equivalent in the Dreamlands and is only the three-dimensional phase of a small wholeness to which the first gate is the passage. Yog then states that the material world, or the physical universe, is a shadow and illusion, that the outer extension is a substance and reality. Jorgen states that the cosmos has an infinite dimensional nature, and he further elaborates on it by saying that all objects in the verse on any given dimensional level are infinite simul cross sections of items a dimensional level higher and extends onto a chain of infinity. Now, after being told this, Carter passes through the ultimate gate, which leads him into the ultimate void. And as he looks back, he sees a multiplicity of gates, with there being a transcendent hierarchy between the two named gates. Now, the ultimate void is described as a place no dreams reach to Randolph by Nacht and Commentaw. This is consistent because Hypnos and his friend could penetrate the last obstacle separating the dreamlands from the ultimate void. Now, another guy, which will be our final guy, I swear, Henry Wentworth describes the void as strangely organized abysses beyond human imagination and a genuine infinity that their space-time is a mere atom within. Wilmarth contemplates the contents of Achilles' letter from earlier and brings up the ultimate infinity the latter mentioned. Walter then reflects on the ultimate void and states that it obeys laws foreign to the physics and math of any conceivable cosmology. This is consistent because it is unreachable to the dreamlands, the infinite transcendent hierarchy of sentient blackness that this ultimate blackness would surpass, and a guy named Fungi describes the void as chaos beyond dimension, space, time, matter, form, and place. After Carter experienced everything, he reflects on it as a final cosmic reality that contradicts and makes unreal all local and partial perspectives and conceptions. Now keep in mind, this is all just a Lovecraft's cosmology, but I also know that it's a bit tricky to understand, so I'll try my best to summarize everything that I just said. Basically, the physical universes of Lovecraft are infinite in size, and the dreamlands are above time, infinite in size, and contain an infinite amount of archetypal or higher dimensions, which is also proven when the narrator re-perceives the physical universe and states that there are higher levels of infinity. Now, the first gate is detached from space-time entirely and stated to be undimensional and transdimensional, which would already make this outer. And when Carter passes through the ultimate gate and goes into the ultimate void, Carter looks back and sees the two gates have a transcendent hierarchy between each other, meaning that each gate is higher dimensional to the last one. Now, the void is also stated to hold everything, like the physical universe, dreamlands, and etc., as a mere atom within itself. Fungi also describes it as chaos beyond dimension, space, time, matter, form, and place. This is probably still confusing, so I'll try and simplify it even more. Basically, the dreamlands are high hyper, since they contain an infinite amount of higher dimensions and have an infinite amount of higher levels. The first gate is outerversal due to being detached from space-time entirely, undimensional and transdimensional to everything below it. And the ultimate gate would be high outer due to being higher dimensional to the first gate, and the ultimate void is above this and beyond dimension, space, time, matter, form, and place. Now this is easily outer to high outerversal for the first gate and higher, but how exactly does Cthulhu scale to all this? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now for Cthulhu scaling, we need to talk about these guys called dreamers. Dreamers are capable of creating a realm that is infinite in size and can shake the sphere, which is, again, infinite. Keep in mind that this is in the dreamlands, which is already infinitely above the physical universes. Now, in the dreamlands, there are these rats called zoogs. Zoogs are stated to be able to kill dreamers like they are a speck of dirt. Then there are these talking cats, which are all stronger than zoogs, and do the exact same thing that zoogs do to dreamers. Then there are other entities that straight up scare the cats. Then these entities are afraid of the earth gods. Then they're afraid of the night gaunts, which are all below the other gods. Now, Cthulhu identifies as the other god amongst Lovecraft due to being from the void. So this should all easily put Cthulhu at high hyper, since dreamers scale to the dreamlands, which contains infinite higher dimensions within itself. But like I said, Cthulhu is an other god, and the other gods are from the void, which is beyond everything in the cosmology. So this should already put Cthulhu at high outerversal, since he is from the void, which is beyond the gates, which would already qualify for high outer since the first gate is already outerversal. So that's pretty much it for Lovecraft, but we're not done. We have one more Cthulhu, and that's Dungeons & Dragons. Now, just like Lovecraft scaling, we're going to be going over the cosmology first, and then show how Cthulhu scales to them. Now, in Dungeons & Dragons, each plane is of essence a different universe/reality, and they have their own laws. That the material plane contains the basic laws of physics like our universe, and the material plane is also stated to be infinite in size and contains an infinite number of alternate universes. Now, all outer planes in Dungeons & Dragons are infinite in size, with the concept of distance being irrelevant in the planes. Now, the Abyss is said to be infinite in size and contains an infinite number of layers, with each layer being its own reality. Now, the 9 Hells contain 9 different layers, with each of the layers being infinite in size. Then we have a thing called the 7 Mountain Heavens, which contains 7 layers, with each layer being infinite in size. However, unlike the 9 Hells, it's also stated that each layer is a higher dimension compared to the previous ones. Now, in Dungeons & Dragons, all dimensions are geometric, with there being 5, 6, 7, and even up to infinite higher dimensional spaces within the multiverse. Now, the Far Realm is stated to be beyond time, with it also being beyond the known multiverse, to the point where it's even considered its own universe. Now, the Far Realm is implied to be a realm of nothingness, and even to the point where it's stated beyond the rules of dimensionality, in that it holds no meaning to the Far Realm. It's also stated to be outside of time, beyond geometry, and beyond all concepts in the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. Magic, time, and space are all concepts on a multiversal scale, and they are nothing as previously mentioned. The Far Realm is also so much about the cosmology that the immortals are stated to be incapable of comprehending something like the Far Realms. And that's pretty much it for the cosmology, but like I did with Lovecraft's, I'll try and simplify it. Now, all universes are outerversal due to magic, time, and space being embodied throughout the multiverse, and all of the universes hold up to an infinite amount of geometric, or higher dimensions, and the 7 Mountain Heavens are 7 layers into outerversal because each layer is higher dimensional to the last one. Now, the Far Realm is beyond everything in the verse on a conceptual level, to the point where the concept of dimensions and all the other concepts of Dungeons & Dragons are literally nothing to it. Now, this would place the Far Realms at high outerversals since it's conceptually above outerversal universes, but now we have to go over how Cthulhu scales to any of this. Well, in order for us to figure this out, we need to go over the other gods in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, the lowest ranked gods, along with demon lords and archvdevils, are capable of drawing power from the plane, and the plane draws power from them. Various demon lords can control things like the layer's conditions, looks, and how time operates in the layer. Gratz is capable of controlling multiple of these layers at once, and he has a castle of infinite size. Now, intermediate gods for the most part are superior to lower rank gods, but other than that, they don't really do anything or have any other statements. Now we move on to the higher rank gods, which are called greater gods. Now, a greater god called Mishra embodies the weave, which is stated in the cosmology section above, embodies the multiversal concepts of magic, time, and space, and more across every multiverse in Dungeons & Dragons, with her death reorganizing the entire Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. Now, some gods embody these concepts like time across the entire multiverse within themselves, and the Lady of Pain repaired the entire multiverse by speaking the primeval language. And Vecna is capable of stalemating her power at the cost of most of his divine strength. Now, Cthulhu scales to everyone here because he is classified as a greater god. However, he would be below other gods that exist within the verse that I will cover in Godzilla's section of the video. Now, the final question is, who is stronger between Dungeons & Dragons Cthulhu and Lovecraft Cthulhu? Personally, I think that there are cases for both sides, but I think D&D Cthulhu is a little bit stronger since he scaled to stronger things that are higher than Lovecraft's things. And Dungeons & Dragons Cthulhu actually knows how to fight rather than Lovecraft Cthulhu, who doesn't do anything except use mind hacks on everybody in the entire verse. But with that being said, both versions of Cthulhu would scale from outer to high outerversal. But like I mentioned in the intro, what about his hacks? Now, Cthulhu doesn't really he probably has a lot of hacks, but none of them are really all that impressive. But for the hacks I do have, he has abilities called Insane Strike, Death Blow, Flame Strike, Drain Strike, Pierce, Dark Strike, Rod Assault, and Narrator Override in case the narrator were to try and turn on Cthulhu. Now, all these attacks, they have the descriptions on screen, but they don't really do anything. Narrator Override is probably the most useful ability here, with it being able to override the narrator. But that's about it. There's not really much else to Cthulhu. But with that being said, that's everything for Cthulhu. And next up, we will find out if Godzilla, the king of the monsters, is stronger than Cthulhu.